Welcome to today's lesson. I want to talk about a particular Hebrew word, which means behold me, or in our English Bibles it's known as here am I, send me. And this word is known as Hineni. Hineni. This is a powerful Hebrew word that sums up that little statement, behold me, or as I said, here am I. Here am I. But you've got to watch out how you say it, because it's a way of expressing total readiness to give yourself, to give of oneself. It's an offer of total availability. So join me today as we discuss this very important word, Hineni. When God called out Moses from that burning bush, Moses replied, Hineni. And you know what assignment he was given and what happened next. Then we have when God, as another example, when God approached Abraham to ask him to offer his only son as a sacrifice, Abraham responded, Hineni, not knowing what God was about to ask him. God called out a young boy named Samuel. He called him 3 times before Samuel finally responded, Hineni, I'm listening. Many hundreds of years later, when God asked who would go for him in Isaiah chapter 6, the prophet willingly offered himself with a cry of, Hineni, send me. Now, it can best be used by family members in today's scenario. Family members who are ready to be fully available and ready to pay attention or ready to obey an instruction. It's a bit like turning up and reporting for duty. Some translations include a behold in the here I am statement, emphasizing that they are present and ready for action. It is often children who are saying it as an expression of readiness to submit to their parents' requests. It's an interesting word, or rather 2 words in one. This same Hineni, of course, is the appropriate way to respond to God whenever he calls, and his wish should be our command. But God often says it of himself when announcing what he's going to do. Often they are very gracious acts that cost him dearly. And interestingly enough, the very first one is when God brings that flood. And we cannot imagine how much that must have hurt him to do. But God says, Hineni. When he's announcing a covenant he will make, and the brunt of which he would always end up bearing. I find that interesting. And it appears many times, this Hineni, in prophetic writings. And it's often translated, behold, I will, so. But it is more like, behold, here I am, doing this thing. God is our ever-present help, as David reminds us in Psalm 46. And there are multiple times throughout Scripture where we read the question, what can I do for you? And as ridiculous as it may seem, God actually makes himself available to us and has shown that he is ready to pay the highest of costs, even the life of his only Son. He invites us to share our requests and our needs with him. And he is always, always listening to our cry. Hineni, here I am, the great I am, who stoops to assure us. He hears us. He sees us. He knows our struggles, and he is always there. He is mighty, and he is our rescuer, and he is that warrior by our side. He promises to listen to our prayers and to answer according to his will. The very best and the most perfect decision will be made. There's a verse that's buried in the David and Jonathan saga in 1 Samuel, in which Jonathan promises his troubled best friend. In 1 Samuel 20 verse 4, he says, "Whatever you say, I will do for you." Hineni. And this caught my attention because it is the same kind of devoted readiness as that shout, Hineni. Sometimes I believe that the Lord would whisper this in our ear. I really think that. And as breathtaking as that might sound, it happens. God says it to Solomon. And Jeshua, Jesus, says it to people that he met in his earthly ministry. And he says it another way. He says, Hineni, what would you like me to do? And that's beautiful. But then I thought that I wanted to ask the Lord the same question. What's on your heart, Lord? What's on your heart? What do you desire? And I will do whatever you ask. Is that easy? No. But I was thinking that because of recent circumstances. Knowing God, saying, "Behold, here I am," or "Here I am, send me," or "What do you desire, Lord?" It's a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous promise for us to make. But he does ask people to do some pretty wild things. But it's always totally worth it. God has already shown his great willingness, his devotion, and his availability to us, as was perfectly demonstrated on the cross of Calvary. He is permanently listening to whatever we have to say, whatever we have to ask. But do we shrink back from unconditionally responding to his call for our life? Do we? His requests of us? This calls for love. This calls for devotion. This calls for availability and a willingness to sacrifice for the other. God is devoted to us, but will he find unconditional devotion and readiness to pay the cost in us? What if God was to call your name out loud today? Are you ready? Are you ready offer yourself to His service, not even knowing what it might be. We don't have to wait until we hear an audible call. We can just report for duty as we come into His presence each and every day and tell Him we're ready to do His will, ready for action. Hineni, behold, here I am. Send me. May you be blessed by today's word. May this lesson encourage you to listen for His voice, for His call, and to be able to respond positively. And I look forward to being with you next time as we continue to learn together. God bless.